We continue our 2012 one-on-one interview series with former Governor Sarah Palin, who joins us from Arizona. And Governor, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Let's start with the economy and the bad news on Friday. Just 54,000 jobs were added in May, the lowest number in 8 months. Unemployment rose to 9.1%. When you add that to the poor numbers on growth, on housing, on manufacturing, where are we in this recovery?
And you add to the fact that this quantitative easing 1 and 2 hasn't worked, and we're talking about QE3 already, and the devalued dollar is an addition to this problem. President Obama tried to explain to the public the other day that this is just a bump in the road, but you try telling that bump in the road analogy to those families out there trying to keep their homes, trying to keep their businesses afloat, trying to fund their child's college education and just fuel up their own vehicle, and the people will tell you it's not a bump in the road. We've hit a brick wall. So we know what the problem is. You just ran through some of the stats that explain what the problem is. Now we really need to start talking about the solutions. We need to start ramping up growth, industry, production in the private sector, or this sinking ship that we are on will soon be drowning in debt and in additional economic problems. We need to start talking about the solutions.
Well, I'm going to get to the solutions in a minute, but President Obama and his advisors note that in fact, the trend lines have been good, that the economy, the private sector has added 1 million jobs in the last few months. Let's take a look at what he said.
We're facing some tough headwinds. Lately, it's high gas prices, the earthquake in Japan, and unease about the European fiscal situation. That's going to happen from time to time. There are going to be bumps on the road to recovery.
And while May was certainly a bad month, the president says that the trend lines, the general trend of the economy has been positive.
The month of April was tough, too. There were jobs added to the marketplace, Chris, but remember that was McDonald's out there with their big push to hire 50-some thousand people. So I think there were some numbers skewed last month, too. The point is, this administration has got to be honest and candid with the American public. Bottom line is their plans for bigger government, more federal control over our private sector, more regulations and burdensome mandates on the people and on our businesses. It's not working, and we do need to shift gears and change course. And it's very noble of President Obama to want to stay at the helm and maybe go down with this sinking ship. But I prefer, and many Americans prefer, that we start plugging the hole, that we start powering up the bilge pump and start getting rid of this unsustainable debt that is sinking our ship. We don't have to go the way of the Titanic, and there are things that have to be put in place right now before this ship does sink. We don't have to keep going down the road that we're going on today.
Well, let's talk about the debate, because what Republicans are saying about what to do next, Republicans are sounding the familiar refrain, cut spending, cut taxes, cut regulation. Democrats say promote exports, targeted investments, and that big spending cuts would actually throw more people out of work. Question, what would President Palin do specifically to boost the economy?
I would go the opposite direction of what these Democrats and President Obama have already tried in these 2.5 years. They already tried the nearly $1 trillion stimulus package, and we still have 9.1% unemployment. We still have about a 17% underemployment rate. And we are incurring more and more debt as we speak, Chris, so it's just not working. What President Palin would do is cut the federal budget, making sure that we're not crowding out private sector investment, and we will cut that spending. We have no choice. We're going broke. We're going bankrupt. We have absolutely no choice. And cut the burdensome regulations and mandates that really quash an entrepreneurial spirit in America and do burden our businesses and create uncertainty, and that's why we're kind of stuck in neutral right now, why businesses can't expand. I would cut taxes. Second highest corporate tax rate in the world we are burdened with. No, we need to cut that to incentivize businesses to stay here in our shores in America and not outsource all these jobs and opportunities. And then one of the most important things, Chris, that we have got to engage in is unleashing our domestic domestic energy production opportunities. It does come down to drill, baby, drill, in addition to an all-of-the-above energy policy that really is non-existent in the Obama administration. Energy is the key to prosperity, to security, and until we start tapping our domestic, conventional, and alternative sources of energy, we're never going to get there.
You talked about the fact that we're going broke, and I think everybody would agree with that. Let's turn to the issue of the national debt, because you say you don't believe Treasury Secretary Geithner when he talks about this drop-dead date of a catastrophe if we fail to raise the debt limit by August 2nd. But Governor, this week, Moody's said that they are going to lower our credit rating for our debt unless we raise the limit, the debt limit, by August 2nd. And also they said they may lower our credit rating if we fail to come up with a serious reduction plan. So question is, wouldn't that be a financial disaster?
I don't believe Timothy Geithner as he cries wolf for the fourth time now, telling us that there is a drop-dead date and crisis will ensue and economic woes will befall us even greater than they already are if we don't increase the debt limit. He's told us this a couple of times now. In fact, I believe it's 4 times now where there is a date in front of us.
Saying what they're saying?
Moody's message is very powerful, and that should be the warning to the American public to make sure that we are electing congressmen and women who hold the purse strings in this nation to quit incurring the debt. We rake in $6 to $8 billion a day, our federal government, via payroll taxes and other revenue sources. If we prioritized and took that $6 to $8 billion a day and service our debt, we don't have to raise that debt ceiling. We can make sure that we are funding the debt service and our highest priorities first, and other things are going to have to wait, Chris. Again, we have no choice. It's common sense.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. So you're saying no deal for deficit reduction, don't raise the debt limit.
I know that the debt ceiling will be raised, whether I want it to be raised or not. There is a majority in Congress, both sides of the aisle, that will raise the debt ceiling. If I were in Congress, though, I would be a no vote to raising that debt ceiling. I would send that message that it is failed leadership in the White House and with our elected officials when they have allowed us to get to this breaking point, if you will, that Moody's is warning about. So I would vote no on the debt ceiling increase. It's just going to allow the big spenders another tool to continue to increase debt. So I believe that the debt ceiling will be raised, but for those who are already committed to voting for it, they better get something out of it for we the people. They'd better get a balanced budget. They'd better get commensurate cuts in federal spending that equate to that increase in debt, because you're going to keep incurring more and more. How about people like Senator Begich, a Democrat from Alaska? He'd better get ANWR in this deal, opening another domestic source of energy up there in Alaska when he votes yes for increasing the debt ceiling. These folks had better get something out of it.